which one should I look at?
Just go at the Nancarrow 9092 right now. So the BU is backup. Let's call it. So let's just, when I click, of course, there's no.
So backup is just a copy of the data in case it gets.
No, backup was just like a name, BU backup. I have, of course, some other backups, you know, like.
So just in case a file gets corrupted or something, it's the same. It's the same files. It's just copies.
Right, right. It's exactly the same. Yeah. So let's change this a little bit. We want to have the MIDI. Use this as mouse here. So, for example, like you see down here, these are the dynamic information. And as well here too, and how the player piano.
So it's on both sides.
Worked like on the lower side, that's for the bass.
Okay.
And it's just like towards till middle C, and then on the treble side and up there, the higher notes, there is like from middle C to the higher notes, like the dynamic range. And it's not really a binary system, but there was 3 holes on each side. When nothing got punched, it was default like mezzo forte, and all this list I have to send you, like all this information will be because that's eventually important. Let's make this a little bit bigger here so we can see it a little bit better.
So when you have a file like this, all the velocities are 64 or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And
because
some of the things you sent me don't have these notes. You've gone in and converted them.
Right. So
how did you convert from his volume levels to velocity centers?
Well, this had to be done manually. You can write.
I mean,
you
what
can
scale
write.
did you use? Did you experiment?
And that's on this list, and that depends on the piano as well. So it's kind of like
your four-zets are different than a disc clavier,
right?
You know.
Or each piano is different. How it's responding to a certain velocity.
So your four-setzer puts out the same force, but then you have to adjust it depending on if it's a grand piano
right.
or an upright.
You have to, with every different piano, you have to kind of scale, or not scale it, kind of scaling it. You look what is the lowest velocity when as soon the let's say velocity 5, the key goes down, then this is, you know, then, you know, with velocity 5, you can reach the lowest velocity. With velocity 2, you wouldn't hear anything, you know, like. But then you can say, okay, velocity 5 is velocity 1, you know, when you scale it in a certain way. So each piano has even in the range of all the keys different kind. When a piano is not good weighted. Asian pianos are weighted 62 grams approximately, like the weight in general, and Europeans are a little bit heavier, 65 grams. So each piano.
Do you test every note before you have a performance, or you just try a few?
It depends on the piano. I have like a test program. I just run through the whole scale and see what. But in Nancarrow's case, study number 1, for example, has actually. You see, these are all the same kind of. That's cancel, and then setting a new volume velocity, and then cancel again. So it goes back to.
What's cancel? Nothing.
Cancel means default.
But I mean, is this mean cancel?
This means cancel, and this you will get the list, which each note will, and that's kind of. Feel so bad that I don't have this here to.
So sometimes he changed the volume just in the bass and not in the treble.
Right. Yeah.
But in the score it just says there's just one dynamic.
Right.
So he kind of orchestrated it kind of
different. Like he was lazy in the score, not to differentiate between the bass and the treble section, because a player piano, like I said, you know, you said sometimes you don't see anything in the treble. Just like in study number 21, for example, where the bass, you know, is a little bit more dominant. We can take a look. whatever he did with the dynamics, and then I would say, okay, and these are very minimum dynamic range changes. So and he kind of wasn't so much interested in this dynamic changes, because on his player piano, when you listen to the recordings, there's not really a big difference. Sometimes you hardly can hear it. But he was very kind of...
he must have cared enough to punch it.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
but then he said he just punched it because it was a part of the...
and once you punch, it stays in effect until you punch something else?
Right.
Okay.
Like here he didn't give a cancel, for example. So this value, which is, let's say, 64 again, or let's say 48, velocity 48, so it would stay. And here's exactly the same, because sometimes the player piano, he didn't trust it always that, so over there he gives the same information just to make sure it's still there. And the same is like up here, he always cancels first, you know, like cancel and actually he did cancel and set, and sometimes it's hard to tell why did he, you know, like do this, but it's at the beginning he always would set it, cancel and set, and then when it goes through, let's see where's the next change, and sometimes he used a longer duration for setting the values, and because he, through his experience, probably just to make sure there's enough time to sense this information. So here, for example, and the nice part also is that most of the first, second, third, whatever voice he's using different durations. So you see immediately when voice number 2 is starting, and that's, of course, sometimes it's just like in study number 1, it's more the percussive, like the chords starting, you know, like, and each one gets, well, here he actually cancels, you know, right after it's played, and then he sets it new to get a little bit more of attack, and
so there's a lot more volume detail in the punches than there is in the score.
Yeah. So here, for example, it's again like most of them. It's just like the same. It's like a pianissimo or fortissimo. You see, he hardly have any change. He just cancels, goes from actually from default, like from the default to a little bit a higher value, and
did you use max to insert velocities?
Yeah, like I had a max patch once where I just run through all these values and automatically. But there's a problem that sometimes his paper was falling apart, and suddenly, not with this, like study number 1 was not so bad in terms of deterioration. But you see, like, there's no, from here on, it stays again till, except like in the treble, he has a few slight changes, and then and sometimes, like, let's say this part here, of course that's correct because it's other chord played. But when you would have, like, let's see, I don't see any suspicious like
here's a chord that's not quite together.
Right, that's something to look into it. But then you check this with the other recording, other scanning, then it looks like exactly the same. You know, then you know there's nothing wrong. But sometimes there are some phantom notes, which are like here. You know, in this part, you see the repetition. You know, like how it's you can also make it a little bit bigger. You know, like when you are want to look for more details, and but just like as an example here, that's all straightforward, and I would like, and performer, like, since he punched punched it in a way like, let's see, when you want to have this perfectly aligned, then you have this deflam feature, and you just say you want to deflam notes closer than, let's say, 30 ticks.
And you've only selected those. Yeah.
Right. And then they are perfectly, like, let's say, let's make one a little bit, we have to change to a different resolution here. So when one would be, like, let's say, which one is a little bit off here. Yeah, let's just move this one over here. And then when you want to deflam, of course, now we have to probably go with a higher number. Yeah, deflam closer than let's do probably 80. No, even more. Anyway, then then it would be perfectly, lined up. So let's undo this.
Now,
because
when he was punching, wouldn't he punch all the notes at a certain time point, all the pitches?
No, because but when you look
as long as
exactly,
he's gotten to a certain point, I would think he would just punch, do all those.
But they're slightly a little bit off. Let's see, I want to undo this.
Would there be a flam on the roll, or do you think that's just there was a certain amount of air pressure that the vacuum was doing, and it didn't quite get it perfectly at that instant?
But that's what I always doubted, like here, for example, it's not perfectly, but we blew it up in a such big way, and we also.
It's certainly not going to be audible.
No. And when you look on his rolls, and when you come to my studio, I have several of his. He gave me some of his short cuts, because that's how I tested my machine, just like excerpts. They are never perfectly lined up, and
I wonder when the punching process, why that would be. But
they are, but we're looking at a perfect kind of, with lines, and
you're dealing with the exact precision of how your tubes were aligned, and they might just be a hundredth of an inch off, and for that one note,
right,
something
right,
like that.
yeah,
so.
yeah. Okay. But then a little bit later here, I think I have the power book scanning. Here, for example, no, let's put in a smaller resolution. And here again at the end, that's let's see, this one, this up there, that's a re-roll, and then automatically it would. Sometimes he puts the re-roll a little way back here, but this would then immediately re-roll the roll. So that's what I usually do. Like when I see there's hardly any dynamic changes, I just would cut these ones off, and cut the lower one off, and then I just would listen to select.
Maybe it would be good to put the dynamic holes on another track.
That's right.
As long as someone's going through doing this.
Oh yeah.
That wouldn't be too hard, and then you'd always have it there, but you wouldn't be playing it back.
And you see, like here, in the second track, I have other recording, like which is not. So here, like the second track usually is the second scan. So I made mostly 2 scans to make sure when one, when there's some question, so you can compare.
Right in the same file.
Right. But right now, how I scanned, it's a machine, and right now we don't know exactly the duration. Like when you play this back, let's just play one back. Let's set this to piano. And let's see, we need our bring all to front. Oh, it's up here already, yeah. hear the high notes and the low notes because they are right. So right now it's completely, it's not correct in the tempo because we didn't scale the time. Like, and then when you go into scale time, sorry, scale. Yeah, not the wrong scale time. You said your time, and I'm not sure what study number 1 was, like 1 minute and.
Maybe look at the Arch Street recordings and.
Well, I used actually the numbers he indicated on the roll, but also Arch Street would be fine too. You know, like let's say it's like.
Now, if you had a automatic re-roll, it might scale it wrong because it's thinking that's your long note over 20 seconds later. So
but I scale it always when I have the dynamics away. Like I'm not. And also,
can you select just the notes and skim?
Right.
Okay, so select the actual notes and scale that time.
Sure, because at the beginning you see like it's not starting. Some studies don't start. Well, this one starts right at the beginning, but let's maybe go in a different. We don't want to change anything. No, do we want to change? Don't save.
They're over here.
Oh yeah. I just want to see the PowerBook scannings because they had some big problems.
So PowerBook was the second scannings. Which is the difference between Nancarrow 92 and PowerBook?
The 92 are the like the good ones. This PowerBook scanning was. The scannings
with the optical.
No, with the optical I never saved because they was just like not correct. The PowerBook was the first time I had my vacuum machine and the PowerBook, but then I realized PowerBook 3. Let's go in PowerBook 1. Let's just start with study number 1. They are useless still. You still can use them, but I just show you what the problem. God, these are old, very old MIDI files, so nothing pops up. And the PowerBook scannings are perfect also for reference when you look, but when you look through here, this is fine, except
there's those long notes.
There's a problem, you see. Like this note was on until the whole process. But what you can do in this case, like since we know when we look where it got stuck,
how long it should have been.
It was probably one of this. It was this note, and it was this note. So when you just click, like, and when you look what duration, make it a little bit bigger. Like when we click on this note here, like this tells you the duration of 30, like 0029 is about 30 seconds of a note. And so now when I click on this note, and when I say change duration, and tell 0030, let's see, 0, yeah. No, this was 29. Let's make it correct. Oh no, I'm 39.
Right.
So now it's there, you know, and when and even though like this note is covered, you know, like right now, but it's even there, you know, like there's a note below which is correct. You see?
Right. So we want to be sure you pick the
right
wrong one.
And even this one is covered, you know, like. So, but the first one didn't get a note off because the USB interrupt was missing from the USB port to the MIDI interface, which was an Apple problem. So I just go, you know, click this one, and then I say save change duration, and do the same, and then we are fine. You know, the whole thing suddenly is perfectly correct. You see, there's no more long
Right.
long sustained. And this also, you see, like now we see here, like this cancel probably, and then the re-roll up here. So that's also a good, like when you're sometimes unsure, like when there's a mistake, you know, like when he did a lot of punching mistakes, like when you go really through exactly through the whole score, and there's a lot of mistakes he made. And I showed him a few, you know, sometimes, and he kind of wondered, but then, especially later in the later works after 37 or starting with 37, when he had this big alcohol problem, and Yoko told me once, like there was easy a bottle of vodka every day. So, but he wasn't really drunk, you know, like kind of crazy or just like she didn't even know it, you know, like of course vodka you cannot smell, and he just was working and having once in a while a glass of vodka, but after a day the bottle was gone.
Right.
So there was also some kind of this probably mistakes that he just was, you know, going along punching it and not.
Right. It'd be so easy to do. All the holes
Sure.
look alike. And
Yeah. So then again, you know, like when you really kind of blow it up, and that was in the 80s. Like Performer was actually the best, you know, program in terms of graphics notation. And here again, you see like this is one voice. Oh yeah, we should.
okay.
And here, since the duration is a little bit different here, it belongs to a other voice. And sometimes I would just add, when you add add a track, and you just a little bit more. Like the original ones, I completely leave alone. I never do anything, you know, with the original ones.
That's a good idea.
Because these are kind of a reference, you know, like when you select all and then you just copy it.
Yeah. Duplicate track or just select everything and drag it or whatever it is.
And then just get in a new track, you know, and then never touch this
Right.
one again, and then start to do certain things. So this is the other note on the, you see, like this kind of note. Let's undo this. And that's kind of suspicious. Why is there other note, you know, like, but this was just like, oh no, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's the first note. That should be with these other
Right,
two.
right. And why is this note in there? You know, like that's something suspicious. So.
So is there anything other than long notes that are suspicious?
Well,
I think the exact simultaneous chords isn't worth going in and deflamming them all.
No, because you never can hear this.
If you're going to play it through MIDI, you're not going to get it perfectly together anyway.
Right. And that was probably also part of the MIDI scanning, because MIDI, since it's a serial communication, there's never everything is 100% straight.
You
know,
can't do two things at once. It's
Right.
one thing after another.
And this was going so fast. You know, like let's say when we play this again. Oh, that's what I want to show. Like sometimes, you know, like when you make a certain track and you just get rid of the dynamics at this moment. Cut these ones off and then you actually can, you know, listen to it. Oh, I still got the ones that we are listening to this track. Let's see. Okay. And is there somebody here like a student who is using Performer, where you can get a little bit help? I mean, you can also use other programs.
I think, people even if they're not that familiar with explain how to do this. Not too much.
I mean, you can, as soon as it's saved, why do we hear? That's not selected here, and I just cut off all the. They're not here. Oh, sorry. I cut off the wrong ones. So let's undo this. Okay, so now we are back up there, yeah, because I don't want to do anything with this track. We want to work on this track. So again, when you cut these ones off, and then, you know, like it's possible to somehow it's not switching. Why did it again? Huh. Then
that little blue triangle has to be off.
It should it should be on. Like I just edited this one, but it was editing this one. Like all the thing. Let's see. All the dynamics are off on this part right now. See? It was strange. It's the wrong one. So, focus. Not right. Oh, but way too slow. Like, we are way too slow because we didn't do anything with the tempo yet, like with the scale of time. So it's probably. So I have to get the right, you know, like time to. You don't have the time here of. You have a CD here of starting number. It's okay. We can do this later. Like it's important that the time is scaled.
Right.
Right.
I've got the studies, but I'm not sure it says what the duration is. Which study is this?
That's one. Let's see, scale.
One is supposed to be 2 minutes and 32 seconds.
Okay.
We're in a special club where we have all of Nancarrow's music on our iPods.
Oh yeah.
That'd be a good way to test people. Okay, play me an Nancarrow track.
Right.
Get it out. Let's see it.
I can make it a little bit bigger. Like let's change overall tempo. Track limit, change. Scale tempos. Okay, here we are. We want to read the time, and the measures are from 1 to 91. That's so far correct. And then we want to, what did you say?
2 minutes, 32 seconds.
Oh, wait a minute, that's 2 hours and, oh, let's see. Something like that. Something got mixed up here.
Sounds about right.
No, but the beginning is not correct.
Sounded about right.
Oh, here we are. This has to go. Okay, now we are. Yeah. That's too fast. Oh, it's 3 minutes. No one. I go back. No change. Don't save. Let's go back to the original because I never used the PowerPoint scannings, the PowerBook scannings.
Okay. And why are there 4 folders there?
Oh, there's
PowerBook scannings.
let's see, the PowerBook scannings. There's some other stuff, the unknown files.
Okay.
Let's see. So these are from 26, 7, 8, 9, 31, 3, 40A, and then 3750. This was study number 51. We called it 3750. Oh, these are all Carlos Sandoval rolls on this one.
Study. What was that?
3750.
And what was it? It was 51.
51, yeah. So, unknown finished. Should we just talk about the unknown stuff quick,
Sure. Sure, that'd be interesting.
Or what was we talking about right now? So here study 45. So it says 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Sometimes I give the time in the back, but then it says discard, and I'm not sure why it was it's such a long time. Like I did this in 1987 the first time, and then until the 92 I think, and so these are all different tracks. So I might try something here because they all have oh no, it's just like one track. So this probably has some kind of like down here there's a lot of small nodes for some scanning, like when you see like here there's a classical example, like you see like this
a bunch of nuts, yeah.
Yeah, so this was sometimes a problem when the punchings, or let's see, when you go too fast or over the tracker bar, like it was getting confused with a whole bunch of nodes. Of course, this represents the same. Let's see, it's here the same. No, there's one node definitely, and that's the reason everything has to be. You see, like this node here, that's a problem, and that's.
Right.
This happened because the paper was maybe cut here, spliced, and my machine was always looking for the perfect kind of rim ends, and that was self-adjusting, like optically. The tracker bar was constantly like self-adjusting, but when suddenly there was a difference in the paper width, right. For a short moment the sensors was looking what is the right position. And when you just move slightly a little bit for a second, you might just hit for a very short time this other node. Like, and that's how this probably happened. Like the paper was badly cut there, and this was just through self-adjustment, and this node is definitely a wrong node. So it's always easy to see when there's, and he usually always punched overlapping other nodes. So that's theoretically, they should be, stopping, but he preferred somehow that they overlap because of the delay. Sometimes it takes for the pneumatic, when you have like a sustained, you don't want to have a short kind of interruption. You want to have this sustained while the other one is coming down and then it stops.
So it's more for the pump than for legato.
Right. And when you're getting, so that's kind of a suspicious node. It might not, but let's see. No, that's probably. The only thing is the duration is different than from other ones, so that could be suspicious.
So
and that could be a
would you get out the punching score at that point?
But then the punching scores and no, when first I would look in the next scanning. Is this the same mistake in the next scanning? When it's in the next scanning, then
there was a hole there.
Yeah, yeah. And that's always what I look. You see here, like here, these repetitions again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the reason. You see, like here, for some reason, oh, maybe it was always the same. Let's see which note is this. This next one. So it did here, it did it here, and it might did it somewhere else. Yeah, you see, like this. Oh, you know what happened? A chat was half in the tracker bar. You have to clean the tracker bar almost every time you play a new roll, like play your piano,
right.
because the dust and everything gets sucked in.
Oh.
And there was a problem with it didn't get the full vacuum pressure difference,
mm-hmm.
and then I knew this particular hole probably through the whole series, whenever this you see
right.
selected there, and every time these notes are played, it had this repetition, and this was because of a piece of paper
mm-hmm.
stuck in the tracker bar.
So you're looking for long notes,
like
repetitions, little short
and
notes.
phantom notes, kind of where you think, why is this? You see, when right now there would be something in this region up here, you know,
mm-hmm.
then you would definitely know that's
right.
not that can't be there, you know, because a new voice starts again right there, and that's probably the reason I had this, you know, like after we checked this out, and this was called let's see, discard, you know, like study number 45,
right.
discard, because but let's see, 37, 3750. And as soon as this is saved as a MIDI file, you can use any kind of, you know, other sequence program.
Yeah, I suppose I could open this with Pro Tools and work on it there. It's
sure,
just,
yeah. but you have to save it as a MIDI file first.
Right.
And that's kind of you have.
But I mean, I could open your performer files even as MIDI files, or no, they're actual performer files.
Right.
Okay.
So you have to save them as
okay.
you have to open it first and then save it as a MIDI file.
I don't see Study 51 from the Virgo CDs.
No,
is it?
I don't think so. It's well on the newest Virgo, I think.
Okay.
It's definitely on
Lost Works or something.
So let's see, 3750. I don't know the time.
Do you know offhand if you have any scans of interesting things that haven't been recorded?
Well, let's maybe look quick in the unknown. The unknown finished A. Let's see. There's a whole kind of unknown MIDI. Oh, there are already MIDI files here. Some of the unknown. There are unknown MIDI files and unknown Nancarrows. They are basically the same, except some of them are saved in. So how they are? It's kind of a strange kind of naming. For example, 29A. The reason was it was called 29A. Nobody knows. He didn't remember. You know, like this was called 39A or 39B. But then AA39 was the other one. Like the first, when it was called 39A or 39B, there was the other one 39, so I just called it AA39A.
Right.
So there was kind of, you know, like, so let's just see, this might be just in short excerpt, and you can always see it right away. Oops, so, come on. I want to listen to this one. So this one are actually, that's a sustain pedal. Let's make this. and there's only which I have to think about which one has
25.
25, yeah, and there's the other one. 20, towards the end, one study. God, it's such a long time. I have to look it up. I have notes of them. So that's till like this measure was the sustain pedal on. He never, like a player piano has like 8 holes on each side, 3 of them for dynamic control, then slow crescendo, fast crescendo. Let's see, sustain, like the pedal, and then on the treble side is the re-roll, and let's see, so it's 3 dynamic, slow crescendo, fast crescendo, sustain. So 6. I thought it was more than 6. Oh no, there are 6 holes on each side because the player piano has 98. The player piano track has 98 tracks. 87 are used. Actually, the player piano doesn't use the last note on the piano, on a regular piano, and sometimes not the first one, but his one, what was the brand?
Ampico.
So that Ampico is a style of the player mechanism. Oh, the Ampico system, yeah. But his Wendell and Clark, I think, Wendell and Clark pianos, they have the 88 keys, but the player piano didn't use. At least the last pitch was never used because it was used for some kind of in the tracker bar for some controller hole, and so here again, like this would have to be, translated into that the sustain pedal is on, and but then it's not towards the end. It's stopped here somehow, and here again, he only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and towards the end, like through the whole piece, he had only 8 changes in dynamic ranges, and then you see they are almost identical. They never change completely, except between here and here, because here is cancel it, and then it goes normal to whatever mezzo forte, and then
looks the same. What's it cancel? How's it cancel?
Like this one hole here cancels the like, let's say we have right now velocity 80 at this point, and then when it cancels, it goes back to 64.
So this one note, this one hole is a cancel.
Right.
And there's another cancel here.
Yeah.
And 2 cancels here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. These are always the cancels.
And so it makes sense to do these as velocity changes, not as volume changes, because otherwise on a synthesizer you end up with a louder, duller sound.
That's just velocity changes.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you play it on a synthesizer, you don't want to change the volume, you want to change the velocity, because that's the effect it would have, making it brighter.
Yeah. And then again, you see here, like, there are very minimal velocity changes, since he is using the same kind of values almost through the whole piece, except here he is adding, and I'm not sure, let's see which, that's the lowest, is E -1. That's, yeah, it's too bad.
Wait till you get your number.
Right.
So you have a test program, and you see what the softest note is it can play and the loudest note it can play, and then you just came up with your own scale.
Right.
In that, you kind of stretch it out depending on what the ranges the
because
instrument's capable of doing.
As a pianist, what is mezzo forte? Like that's your definition, right? How fast you're pushing down the key, so I was actually adding, since there are 6 different velocity value changes on a player piano. Actually, there are 7, because the default, and then 3. 6 basically, like when you mezzo or pianissimo, like the PPP till FFF.
I got
8.
8.
Yeah.
Now, were there 8 on the
No,
rolls?
no. There's
So-
6 plus the D4.
So he could write triple F, but he can't really get a difference between triple F and FF.
Yeah, but what is in velocity it's between 110 and 127. There's hardly any change, audible change. It depends what instrument, what instruments are using.
But in the score, I think I know there's double F. I don't know if there's triple F. If he goes down to triple P, he can't really.
But he used triple F as his highest value.
Right.
But it's kind of arbitrary, like this kind of, it's just like you have six different changes, and then you divided it up.
But there's only 6 on the piano, but there's 8 in music.
Right.
So he may have sometimes said double F or triple F, but it would still be the maximum that the piano could do.
And on his piano particular, like he changed, the whole kind of bellow systems. Like this got modified, so he actually supplies more vacuum to the whole system, so he could actually play more notes than a normal player piano. And this was a change he had done by a technician. Just actually the motor goes faster, so there's more kind of pumping vacuum going on, and it's a little bit more noisier because it's more vacuum. But then you also automatically change your kind of velocity value. But he want to have the kind of the fastest, loudest attack sometimes, and so you would hardly see any kind of pianissimo. He always cancels mostly, and then it goes back to the default, to the mezzo forte, or what to the medium kind of value. So
we have to leave fairly soon.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that would be good to show in person while we're got the computer, and anything else that you want to about Nancarrow MIDI data?
Well, let's see. How many minutes we have? Oh, only 5, right, or less?
Yeah, they're not going to close the gates exactly at 5, so maybe 3.
So let's see. So again, the power book, scanning there just for reference when you want to.
So use the Nancarrow 92.
Right, because in the 92 there and like the 92, I don't think so. They are the unknown. Let's see. They are not the unknown files. And again, the unknown files, you will see.
Some guesses at what they're called.
The Nancarrow unknown Nancarrows, they have this kind of weird, like chromatic scale. For example, he would just do, test rolls, and or he also punched hello. Like that was once he was asked by some kind of, I forgot, by a journalist or whatever, did he ever punch a graphic shapes? And he said, no, I never would do this. But then I found this hello. But of course, that's how the how it reads pitch and time. So it's actually a mirror image, because it starts like scanning, playing like from this side. So when you look at the roll, it looks actually because it's scanned in the mirror image, like so. So that's what he. So that's kind of I just scanned whatever I could find in this box. There's some interesting or this book. It was almost identical. It belongs to 3 in the 3 family, but it's slightly a bit different from A, B, C, D, and E. It has part of some of them, but then he rearranged it a little bit. So it's interesting to look into it. What is different, and I never had the chance to, like what I do sometimes. We should close it down, or we can get back in here later, right? Oh no, we're leaving with the car.
I think we might as well head over towards the art building.
Okay.
But okay, great.
And we can talk over
Yeah.
there, you know, like